Engine start. Liftoff.
Colonel, you better take a look at this radar.
What is it, son?
I don't know, sir, but it looks like a giant...
Dick!
Yeah.
Take a look out of starboard.
Oh my God, it looks like a huge...
Pecker!
Oh, where?
Wait, that's not a woodpecker. It looks like someone's...
Wang! Pay attention.
I was distracted by that enormous flying...
Willie.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. I'll be overly generous to Jeff Bezos and say he had the right idea. Send the most insufferable feminists and girl bosses into space. The only problem is they came back. And that his fake dick rocket company, Blue Origin, decided to promote that as some type of win for feminism, when really it's just a series of massive L's, and it's been backfiring spectacularly. Look at this. Look at these outfits. You look like you're going scuba diving on a Disney cruise in like 3 feet of water in the Bahamas. You look ridiculous. Everybody looks ridiculous. This isn't a moment for feminism. That's a dick rocket that was designed, flown, and paid for by men, and you are simply baggage on that rocket. That's all it is. It's amazing. They tried to spell it off as something else, though. The astronaut crew, Blue Origin says. Well, it's not an astronaut crew. And you know who says that? The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, who said, "Let me be clear, crew members who travel into space must have demonstrated activities during this flight that were essential to public safety or contributed to human spaceflight entirely." The crew who flew in space this week on an automated flight by Blue Origin were glam. But you cannot identify as an astronaut. We said this before, that they are just swagger jacking real astronauts. This is cultural appropriation, is what this is. This is very, very offensive. They're using the wrong astronaut pronouns. They do not meet the FAA requirement. Just completely epic. Trump aide destroys Katy Perry astronaut dreams. when you read that you're not actually an astronaut. Gail King is wondering, what am I going to do to advance science? Well, let's see. You're going to have to do that to be called an astronaut. Let's check the tape, shall we? Here's what happened up in space.
Take us space!
I'm glad you look right behind you. It's okay, you can up there. Flint, I got you.
They brought a flower into space. That's what they did. And they took scrunchy face selfies. They floated upside down with their GoPros, and they scrunched their little faces, and they smiled. That's it. That's all that was accomplished. Now, they probably shouldn't have released this video at all, and we're still waiting for them to release the video of the launch or the descent back to Earth. That would be very important. But this video actually caused a new controversy, which I think is quite interesting. Now, we've already covered some of the more viral controversies, but this one really does stand to some major criticism. Let's look. New conspiracy theorists, or just people who are right in the future, conspiracy theorists up 1,000 to 0 on the official narrative, people, claim Katy Perry's hair proves the flight was faked. What's going on here? Katy Perry's hair looks like it would on a windy day. It doesn't look like what happens when you're in actual zero gravity. This is what an astronaut's hair looks like in zero gravity. See this? It's quite different. Katy Perry and all of her bimbo friends up there in the dickhead rocket, they all had hair that looked just kind of like they got a blowout, right? There really wasn't much, like it definitely doesn't look like zero G's, and that's because it's not. We'll get to that in just a second, because they're not actually in space. I'll get to that in just a second. We actually know what happened here. So that's one more little problem with this flight, along with the many others. There's more, though. A very interesting photograph surfaced this past week of a hand, clearly a plastic hand, inside of the Blue Origin space pod. hard to handle. Conspiracy theorists, just people who are right in the future, claim to have spotted a fake hand in the Blue Origin ship. They insist something is definitely wrong with Katy Perry's flight. Something is definitely wrong with his flight. Is this a fake hand? Did they leave Gail King in there? Please, please, please leave her in space. Look at the absurdity of this. Look at this. They want to be called heroes. They want to be called brave explorers. Your baggage, your literal luggage, ladies. Anyway, it's worth noting that this is actually a photograph that is available on the Blue Origin website. It is a real Blue Origin. It is a mannequin in there. That's 100% true. But it is from a test flight before this launch. This is from a test flight before the launch. Here's like a different angle of it. This is from a 2017 test flight from a different angle. But there remains a couple of real problems with all of this. One, the first real problem that we have is that the flight returned to Earth.
Deploy from the crew capsule. Those are like the guide parachutes. There go the drogue parachutes.
Just free falling right there until those drogues came out.
And then next will be the main parachutes that get...
Nothing like a brave astronaut literally screaming, shrieking as the pod comes back down to Earth. Now, this pod crashed pretty hard. Sure looked like it. And so, the median age of the women inside are like 60 years old. They're sitting in little folding chairs. So that seems to be a little bit of a rough landing. Of course, space experts, the Kardashians, are there for safety purposes. But you'll notice that the pod itself is completely and totally pristine, not a scratch on it. Now that's strange, because when pods return from Earth, they are burned to a crisp. This is what a pod returning from Earth looks like. It is flamed out like a burnt marshmallow. This is what the fake-ass space flight pod looked like when it came back. It was pristine. Looks like it hadn't been touched. Oh, and then, of course, there's the problem with the door. Of course, on a real space flight, a crew has to open the door with special instruments from the outside. This is, of course, a safety protection. But the problem with this flight is that the passengers were able to open the door themselves. Now, this isn't saying a lot because I guess the intelligence of the passengers inside, we're shocked that they were able to open the door at all, but sure, open the door they did.
Her mouth, but really her heart.
You're able to see right here that the little non-binary aide for Jeff Bezos runs up and screams at them to shut the door, shut the door, close it. We have to wait for Jeff Bezos with a fake tool to fake open the door. Of course, this is supposed to be a pressurized magnetic door that keeps them safe. No one should be allowed to open this unless you have like a crew of sophisticated individuals. Of course, this would be if you wanted to keep them safe in space, but they didn't actually go to space. We're going to prove that. Whatever this is, if it's just for Jeff Bezos' ego, it just proves that this was fake. This proves that they're lying to you, that they're actors, that these are props. This is a prop. This is a prop usage. That's it. And that they're staging all of this. And what do I mean by that? Did they go to space? The answer is no. They didn't. There are no re-entry burns on the Blue Origin capsule for a reason. And that reason is pretty clear. That reason is because they didn't actually go high enough to be considered in space. All they did was just touch the precipice of something called the Kármán line. Let's read. The Blue Origin flight with Katy Perry and other women did not actually go to space like the media is portraying. They didn't actually experience microgravity either. Yeah, secondly, the rocket delivered passengers beyond the Kármán line, but that is the internationally recognized boundary of space at 62 miles. But they really just hit that point at apogee. There's no orbital insertion, not even close. The brief state of weightlessness during the ascent and descent was not due to escaping Earth gravity, but because of a combination of free fall and an absence of a supporting force. similar to the sensation of being weightless at the peak of a roller coaster. Essentially, they were just falling towards Earth in the absence of the rocket's upward thrust simulated the feeling of weightlessness. They got a tummy riser, like you can get on a teeter-totter. Or like when your commercial flight dips, you know, when you're going through a thunderstorm or something. All that floating around, the drama, Katy Perry's girl power bullshit, it's all fake. She's not a damn astronaut. She's literally not a damn astronaut, like definitionally. It's a woke Hollywood elite that thinks she's special. And we're all really, really tired of all of that. I have one more hilarious troll for these women, which is Martha Stewart posting this.
Boarded a Boeing 720.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind? This is Martha Stewart posting her inside of the 0G's plane, doing the exact same thing. She doesn't claim to be an astronaut because it's literally just a plane that goes up really, really high and then comes down faster than the speed of gravity, giving you the illusion of weightlessness. But it's all an illusion because you're not actually in outer space. There's so much data to prove that they didn't go to space, everything from the burns on the capsules to the way that their hair interacted with the environment around them. The fact that they didn't have to wear space helmets. Like, they didn't have to have oxygen pumped in. Do you understand? Like this, what happened was they did go up really high and they came back down. That's it. We can show you. Here's what the Kármán line is. Stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere. Here's the Kármán line right there. So they shot up. They went right about there. And then they came back down. They didn't go into orbit. The International Space Station, like where satellites live, where the ISS is, it exists out here. It exists 200 miles out from beyond where they went. 200 miles further than the Blue Origin rocket. So that's how fake this all was. They're not astronauts. They didn't actually go to space. They just went up high and fell back down. They didn't experience weightlessness or zero gravity. They just went up high and got a big tummy riser, like your kids do on a seesaw. There's been a seesaw of a news cycle, and we're kind of tired and totally exhausted with elitists in Hollywood declaring that we must respect them and all of their incredible accomplishments. No more. Very different era. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.